In today's episode, Courtney and I had the pleasure of sitting down with agency owner Ashley Himes, and we're going to be talking about a monumental shift she made in her agency, going down to a 4-day work week, and now the results have increased. The production has increased. Her team is happier. They're doing more. She's happier, and she's going to talk exactly how she went about implementing that, what her team meetings look like, the accountability, the expectations. And so with that being said, let's start the show. Are you tired of hiring new producers only to find out that your sales numbers aren't increasing like you need them to? If so, you're not alone. Many insurance agencies face the same problem, but the solution isn't always to hire more people. It's about equipping your team with the right skills and training. That's where our insurance training program comes in. We understand the unique challenges faced by insurance agencies, and we've designed a comprehensive training program to help you and your team succeed. Weaver Sales Academy is a 24/7 on-demand training curriculum specifically tailored for your insurance sales. The program includes our exclusive 10-day plug-and-play new hire training to teach any insurance professional how to sell multiple products, sell on value versus price, overcome objections, and more. It also includes our 8-week advanced training to perfect the auto, home, and life insurance presentation over the phone and in person. Not only that, we've included product-specific sales training, word tracks, scripts, closing techniques, and more. There's so much more to the program, so if you're interested in joining the program that's helped over 10,000 insurance agents nationwide, visit www.weaversa.com or send me a text directly at 816-727-7610 with any questions to find out more. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we're so excited today. We've got Ashley Himes with us. Ashley, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are so excited for this today.
Pumped. I'm ready. We're going to talk about accountability, expectations, what work-life balance looks like for you as a mama with 4 kids and a top-performing agent. We're going to get into success. We've been having a juicy conversation before we even hit record. So
yeah.
we're going to repeat that conversation so other people can hear what we've been talking about. So we were sharing about some things that are changing in your life because you've recently had some birthday revelations, I'm going to say, as we're prepping for Michael's birthday. And we were talking about success, and we were talking about fitting in and belonging and what that looks like. And you brought up that your team has a 4-day work week. So I'd like to start there and really kind of what your definition of success looks like right now and how that's affecting your agency and your team.
Yeah, so to build on that conversation that we were having earlier was just about how, this year when I turned 36, a conversation that somebody had to me was about, going for all the awards and the accolades. I was kind of focused my agency over the last several years on trying to earn awards and be at the top and be on the top of every list. And someone who was retiring had, after 30 years in the business, someone had asked them, what'd you do with all those trophies? What'd you do with all of that? And he said, well, I threw them in the trash. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, what was I going to do? Like build a shrine to myself? And he's like, yeah. So he had this realization after 30 years in the business that all of this work he had done, all of these trophies he had achieved, all these awards, really just, they meant nothing, and that at this point when he was 30 years of working and retiring, and now he was going to spend his time being with his family and exercising and doing the things that he had always wanted to do when he was working. And he said, if I could give you any advice, don't make it about that, right? Don't make it about the awards and the trips and the being on the top of lists. Make it about your family. Make it about balance. Invest in people. And so I really thought that through over last year. And I made my word of the year intentional. And I said, this year, I'm going to be really intentional with everything that I'm doing in being intentional with my team and being intentional with my family and myself, even, intentionally working out and prioritizing my health. And this gave me the idea then to say, you know what, if this is what I need to do to live my dream life, what can I do for my team to help them with this same thing? So about a year ago, I said, hey team, like, how do you feel about going to a 4-day work week? And they were like, really? Like, this is crazy. I said, there's one condition, and that's that on that day off, you have to invest in you, right? Get the massage, get the pedicure, read a book, take the day off. You have to focus on yourself. You need to be like, when your kids are at school, you need to lay on the couch and just like bask in the quiet, And everyone's really started at that point investing in their mental health. And I started investing in my mental health, going on walks every day, 3 and 4 mile walks, exercising, eating right, doing the same things, taking my 4-day work week. I went down to 4 days. And actually it was funny because that's the year I added my second agency. So half as much time and twice as much work. But it forced us to be really intentional with every single day, every single hour, and be productive in all the minutes that we have, and to be intentional with the time where we were away from the office and focusing on the things that really filled our cup. And because of all of that, we ended up having our best year that we've ever had. And I really started to think about it. And it was the first time where I didn't say to my team, all right, team, we're going to focus on blah trip. And we're going to focus on blah trophy. And we're going to, I said, this year, we're going to focus on doing the right thing every day. If you can make these 5 things happen, then you can go home, right? You're going to work against the goals, not the clock. And so everyone, once they got full clarity of, okay, what exactly do you expect from me each day that I'm here? And we dialed that in, right? That's one of my skills, I would say, is that accountability, or having those processes in place for knowing exactly what I should be doing each day that you would consider this a success. And when we started focusing on just that winning the day and winning and being held accountable and taking the extra time off, lo and behold, we had our best year ever.
When you went down to the 4-day work week, were you scared at all at first? And because obviously it sounds like now a year later, it's been the best thing ever, but were there hangups there in the beginning, those first 1, 2, 3 months what did you learn from the first 90 days of implementation?
One thing we had to do was have a buddy system. So in my office, we have specialties. So we have a service team and a sales team and an IFR team, or team members who do like existing household reviews. And so we first had to make sure that everybody had a buddy, meaning there was always someone who was present to do that job, right? If a customer calls in and says, I want a quote, somebody has to be here, right? To be able to do that and to do it the way that it needs to be done through the sales team. I mean, really, there wasn't too many hiccups. I mean, we just said, our busiest days are Monday and Friday, so nobody was allowed to take off those 2 days. So we rotated Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then everybody had a buddy. So there's 2 salespeople. One of them has to be here. One of them takes off Tuesday, and then the other one takes off Wednesday, and they alternate. And so, like, I just got a text message that one of my team members is not feeling well. She's going to go home. She just said, hey, I checked with my buddy because I don't care. My rule is unlimited time off. I have no requirements for that. And, the reason I did that, too, is because when I was a team member before I was an agent, and my first several years of working at an agency, I had 2 little girls at home. And the only days I ever got off in like 4 years were sick days. Right? It was so frustrating because I never took a vacation. I never took time off for myself. Like, it was like, oh, my kids are sick. And then one got sick, and then the next got sick, and then I got sick. And so 4 days out that week, and it was all sick days. And I said, I have almost all females on my team, and all of us are mothers, right? And I wanted them to not only be able to stay home when your kid is sick and stay home when you're sick. Actually, we have a rule here. If you're sick and you come in, you're going to deal with me. But
Yeah, don't come
you're
home.
not
Welcome
getting
in.
sick.
Yeah.
Seriously. But because then I got 4 kids at home, right? I'm like, then they're all going to get sick and it's just going to be misery. So I said that's the very last thing I wanted to do was worry about time cards or, worry about time off. I never wanted anyone to feel bad for taking a day off. And that's scary for a lot of agents. But I think we just created this culture here of like loyalty and like, we all just make sure that our job is done, right? And so, we're able to do that. But there wasn't really too many hiccups. I mean, we were all like, hey, that's cool. Let's do it.
Well, and it sounds like you've created a culture around, hey, there's freedom, there's flexibility here, but there's still a job that has to be done. Like, as long as you're hitting your goals, you don't that's what it sounds like. Like, as long as they're hitting their goals, you don't care. Like, if they're at the office, if they're taking vacations, like whatever it is, you hit your goal, you hit your production, we're all good.
Yeah, you got it. And you have to be with me for a year to qualify for your 4-day work week. So in that year, I would be able to weed out anyone who I felt might be abusive to the process, And honestly, like the way our team operates, just everyone is responsible for something. So if you're not here doing the work when you're supposed to be, your team's gonna call you out. Like we have team meetings every Friday and we call it like the errands of grievances, which have you ever seen that Seinfeld episode of like airing your grievances?
Yeah.
We're very direct in our communication and we try to air out any grievances that might occur so that we can always be improving and growing and bettering our culture, right? So anything that's out there, we would get it on the table. I would say like within that first year of somebody starting. And then by that point, they know I'm important here. My job is important here. Everybody's counting on me and they're not going to take off more time than what, they need to. And in a way, it's actually, how you have team members and they're like, oh, I got a doctor's appointment Monday and I have a this. Well, now they can schedule it on their flex day, right? So everybody schedules, if I have a doctor's or a dentist appointment, I'm going to schedule it on my day off. And now I don't take a lot of time off throughout the week because I want to be here because I only have now 32 hours what I was doing in 40 hours.
I have to go back to the Friday grievances because I need to know how you're facilitating this to where people aren't getting their feelings hurt. What does that look like going into that meeting?
So everybody like comes in the meeting and you say like what's going really well in your area of the business, what because maybe didn't go well, and then where can you use our help, right? And so when you phrase it like that, like so Ginger, where could you use our help, right? Then she has an opportunity to air out like, well, something I've seen is that, my people are setting these types of appointments for me and I really want these types of appointments, right? And so it gets through the point of it without being abrasive,
And I think it does I know that it does a fantastic job of facilitating asking for help.
Yes.
When you're saying, because you're saying essentially, I need support or I need help in this category, which traditionally human beings are not great at asking for help. We're raised to be very independent. So what you're doing is creating this space of going, this is what went well. This is where I can improve. This is where I need help. Like, that is huge.
Yes. And like, I make sure that people answer like, we'll wait. Like, where can you use our help? And if it's, I need clarity on something or, I need direction or maybe, even sometimes it's me. Sometimes I'm the culprit. Like you said you were gonna, and I'm like, ooh, okay, you're right. I'll get that done today. Sometimes it's me even, but we try to be really direct. Something else like I always try to do is that, if a team member comes to me or another team member and says like, I have an issue with someone, I'm like, you need to go talk to them directly. Or you're both going to come in here. We're going to talk about this together. But like, I try to like not play I think culture is really like leadership down, right? If you get into those conversations where you're like, oh my gosh, they did what? you have to say, well, I think that they're a really good person and I bet they didn't intentionally mean to hurt you. Let's go talk to them directly. Do you need my help with that? And I'll even put in time expectation on it too. Like, so I'm going to give you until Friday to address that with them. And if you don't, then Monday we're going to address that together. And so then they're like, oh, I don't want that. Helps keep that culture strong.
Open line of communication. And so you're doing the Friday meeting. Are you doing any other meetings from an accountability standpoint, or is that really the only team meeting you're having a week?
So I do like Motivation Mondays. I put out like a motivational message and then I ask for a question at the end of it, what's a way, maybe we're talking about procrastination. And then I'll say like, what's something you're procrastinating? And everybody answers. And then I'm like, all right, assignments, and I'll give them that assignment to, stop procrastinating. And then at the end of every single day, every one of my team members has their individual expectations from me of this is what I expect, or this is what your winning day looks like. And so every single day, even my service team members send me like a text photo of their day, their checklist day. And we all have like, I don't know, I can kind of show you. We all have like this, even me, we have this like accountability and where we write it down. And so they send me a picture of it at the end of the day. And this is where then I make sure that they're one, hitting the expectation. Two, if there's something they're missing, I'm like, oh wait, like you didn't ask for a review today, a Google review. Like, why don't you call someone and ask them for that review? Like, no zeros, right? You have to check all the boxes. And so every single day there's like a touch of accountability with what your job is. And even for the service team, like I think service team can kind of feel unnoticed sometimes, right? Like I'm doing all this work, but no one notices. So when we started sending out that text message at the end of the day, which also goes into the group thread with my MOA, those people feel seen. You can see how many cases they start with at the end of the day, how many they end with, how many tasks they did, what birthday calls they made, how many times they pivoted or they upgraded coverage or they asked for a review or they had a life conversation, right? They're feeling that. And then I'm celebrating with them like, woohoo, that was a fantastic day. Like, look at you go. At the end of the month, because of that, I don't have any surprises. There's no like, oh, well, you had a bad month, A bad month is impossible when you're doing daily accountability.
Your supervisor is constantly telling you that they need more life insurance out of you. They need more apps. They need more premium, but you don't know how. I know I heard this from my supervisor all the time and I was like, that'd be great, but I don't know how to produce more life insurance. They never trained me. This is exactly why we created the 6-Figure Life Insurance Producer course just for you. So if you want to know exactly how to bring life insurance up on those new business P&C sales conversations, when you're servicing a current customer, when you're having an appointment with the customer, whether it's in person or virtually, this is exactly why we created this course. You'll learn from the playbooks, the video training, the word tracks, the scripts. So you'll know exactly how to not only bring it up, but the questions to ask to get them interested in having a conversation with you, how to educate them on the policies you have for their plan and how to ask for the sell a minimum of 3 times in any life insurance conversation. So the best part is it's a one-time investment. You own everything I just shared with you and more forever. So if you're interested, make sure you click the link below, quit struggling, and learn exactly what it takes to be a 6-figure life insurance producer.
Ashley, how long have you been in the insurance field?
Probably 13 or 14 years. I was a team member. I think I started as a team member like in 2011, and then I launched my agency in 2016.
Okay, so I want to go back to this concept that we're all talking about right now. It's really about fulfillment in your career, because if I'm listening to this and I'm a new agency owner, or maybe I'm a new producer, because Michael and I have gone through the exact same thing. When Michael first started, we were dating and we didn't see each other at all. We had Sundays. That was it. He worked 12-hour days, Monday through Saturday. Like he was grinding because he was building his career. And I was doing the same thing. And it felt like I was Pac-Manning my way through the plastic trophies. And I did that for 10 years. We both did, where we were just like, we have this goal that we want to hit. And it's only going through that process that you realize, oh, there might be something more to this. But then there's always this debate on, can you do this at the beginning of your career? Because we're all sitting here 15, 20 years in going, hey, this is actually what you need to be focused on. But would we be in this position that we are today if we hadn't have gone through the season of sacrifice and hustle to go, this is important or this is not important? I'm just curious your thoughts on that, especially if I'm a new agency owner and I'm 1 or 2 years in. Can you adopt what you're doing right now and still find success or fulfillment or achievement?
I think the answer is yes and no. So it took me only 2 years of running my own agency to realize what I was doing wrong. The first 2 years of my office, I was my best team member, right? I was slaving to the desk. I was selling all the stuff. I was the only one doing life insurance. And I call that being the keeper of the knowledge, right? I was the keeper of all the knowledge and all the skills. And so about year 2, I realized that I had questioned myself. It's December 31st. You're the only one at the office. It's 7:00. You got to write those last few life apps to hit the trip. You're just like, why have I done this, right? Your family's text messaging you going, when are you coming home? And you're like, I just got to get this cushion, right? And on January 1st, or, the 2nd, 3rd, whatever day you come to work, I came in and I sat down with my team. I said, this is not going to work. I said, I need your help. And I said, I need everyone. I said, there are 5 of us here, right? And if every one of us did our equal part in this, then instead of having to write, 100 things by myself, I could write 10 or 20, right? And I could write 20 really, really, really good ones. Like, I'll handle the premium, right? I just need everyone to get on board. And then I asked the question, like, what is preventing you from helping me? Because I've asked you to help, but it wasn't happening, right? So I said, I really need to know how can we go from being interested in helping me to being committed to helping me, right? And they all, it flabbergasted me how simple the answer was. It was, we don't know what we're doing. Well, 1, we don't know how to have the conversation. And 2, once we have the conversation, we don't know what to sell them. And 3, once we sell it, we don't know how to do the application. And I was like, that makes sense. Who would want to help me if they didn't know what they were doing? Right?
Yeah, if they didn't feel confident in it.
Yep.
Yeah. And something my coach told me recently, really confirmed this. He said that the top, he trains CEOs from all over. And he said that the top companies invest about 3 hours a week in training, right? Per person in their office. And this was a moment for me to say, oh man, what I've been doing wrong is I've been talking about it, but I haven't actually taught them how to do it. And let me spend more of my time training. And at the same exact time, I saw this speaker that this also helped me. It is John Henry Ball. He said, make a list of everything you do in your agency. And now circle the top 3 things that make you money. And then everything else you delegate or hire out. And those top 3 things are what you focused on. And my top 3 things were retirement planning, training my team, because that makes me more money than I could make because I don't have enough hours in the day, and focusing on Rocket Mortgage or other things that I do. And so it was those 3 things that make me money. So I said, from now on, I'm not going to do any of that other stuff. I hired myself a personal assistant to help with all of the money, paying bills and doing stuff like that, to make baskets for charities and to go out to put community events together, all the things I was doing. And I started focusing intensive time training my team. I had them sitting in on my meetings. And when my meetings turned into applications, I started having them write the applications for me. And then I split the commission with them 50-50. So they got a taste of the paycheck, they got a taste of the conversation, and they got a taste of the close, right? And then about a year later, I said, all right, I'm not going to share the commissions 50-50 anymore. If you want the money, you got to sell the things. And they were like, yeah, okay. And so the first year I said, I need everyone to do 2 apps a month. That's all. It was very simple. I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm going to educate you. I'm going to show you how to close it. I'm going to teach you all the product knowledge. I'm going to role play with you. I had one of my team members type up the entire life conversation as she was hearing it between me and a customer. And I started using that to role play with my team members every single day. I started requiring them to turn that life pivot sheet in twice a week. And once I started doing that, they started having success. And it was amazing to go from this point where I was the best team member, right? To like now this would be my 7th year. I have 2 offices, and I personally haven't written a life app in 5 years.
Heck yeah. Let's
Yay!
go.
Oh,
But we wrote almost 200 life apps and traveled exotic this year. And I didn't do any of it. Our MOA year 1 hit travel, which was amazing. But it was just more about, I didn't care about travel. I didn't care about exotic. I just said, do these right things every day. Right? And it led us to where we needed to go.
For those of you listening right now that don't know what exotic travel is, Ashley is a consistent MDRT agent. All right. So I want to just throw that out there. Like, her team is doing the production, and it all starts with the leadership. Like, the change in mindset of what a leader looks like that's where I went through in our agency. And I think that's what you're speaking to now. Like, instead of being that hands-on, I got to do everything, I'm going to devote my energy and time into making my team the absolute best that they can be, so that I can focus on the 2 or 3 things that not only I'm great at, but also bring me more joy and happiness.
well, and I think you broke it down beautifully, because first you have to have the conversation and go, I don't want to do this anymore. What do you need? Like, how can I serve you? And then you have to be willing to fill the gap. So that's where I see agency owners struggle a lot. And this is just entrepreneurs in general, is that they want this self-managing team. They want this team that's bought in. They want this team that's confident, that can run. There has to be training and accountability that go with that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to have the best of both worlds without investing in people. If you want people to be committed and you want them to be confident, there is a certain level of training consistent training too. Let me add that. Consistently investing, because the world clouds our mind a lot. So consistently focusing on, like, how are we improving? How do we serve our customers? What are we focused on? What's the priority? That's how you get that. But it all starts with that initial first conversation of, like, what's not working and what am I willing to do as the leader to fix it?
Well, and like my coach said to me, because at the beginning of the year, I was trying to come up with content for my message for the beginning of the year. And I said, I really want to build a conversation around taking ownership, right? I want each of my team members, I have 3 new team members this year, 4, and my whole MOA team is new, my second office. And so I'm like, I really want to talk about, like, taking ownership of the position. And he said, Ashley, no one owns it but you. Like, no one. He's like, why do you want them to take ownership? And I'm like, well, really, I want them to, like, just do the job at the best they can. Because he's like, well, let's talk about that then. Because, like, true ownership, you're the person that owns the agency. No one's going to love it and work as hard for it and put themselves out there as much on it as you are. But what you can create is a training program that gives them the knowledge, a job title that gives them the power and the purpose, right? And then give them expectations that say, here's what I need you to do, and then hold them accountable to it. And then instead of needing them to take ownership and self-manage and do all the things, you have an actual process that works.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I love it. obviously we're big believers in training. All right.
Yeah.
That's what we do. And what you're saying, I think that's the difficult part for a lot of agents because they don't know where to start. So that's partly why we created Weaver Sales Academy, was to give you the training tools to where you take the guesswork out of it. You hold the team accountable to it. Even I encourage you to do it yourself, and you flourish. And that's what you're talking, like you're talking about setting your team up with success so that they're confident in what they do every single day from start to finish. And they know the 3 to 5 things that they need to be doing every single day. I haven't asked that. I'm curious, like, and you don't have to break down every role, but I'd be curious as to like the sales role, for example, what 3 to 5 things are they doing to win the day so that they do just crush their month every month?
Their calls, their quotes, asking for a referral, having a life conversation, and asking for a review. Calls and quotes. I mean, sales is part of that, but sales to me is a result, right? So it's really about making the right amount of calls and having the right conversation and doing it every single day, multiple times. And then the results will come, you know. And I've challenged team members on that before. When we first launched our agency, we had good months and bad months and good months and bad months. And every time I would look at the call log and I would say, well, the good month, you made this many calls, and the bad month, you had this many calls. And that's the answer. And they're like, can't be that simple. And I'm like, no, seriously, try me.
Yep.
Right. And so I made a bet with one of them one time, like, here's what we're going to do for the next 3 months. You're going to make exactly this many calls. And if it doesn't work, I'll pay you $500. And if it does work, and it was at that time I was really bad at holding people accountable, right? So I was like, just try it, you know, see if it works. So she's like, all right, what could I lose? And then boom, she had the next 3 best months that she ever had. And she was like, oh, yeah. And so now the accountability almost comes from her with the rest of like the sales team, because she's like, listen, I already went through the process of doubting Ashley. But it's true. Calls equals quotes equals sales equals money equals everybody's winning. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
Well, and especially in the beginning of someone's career, like the activities are what's going to equate to at-bats. The at-bats are what's going to equate to confidence. And so if you're listening to this right now, like I would encourage you, if you're not hitting your numbers, you have to increase your activity, but you also have to increase your confidence in the conversation of when you convert that call to an opportunity, to a conversation. You need to give yourself the absolute best possible chance of closing that business to where you're just not dialing for dollars every single day, to where the better you get at the conversation, theoretically, the less calls you have to make to write the same or more amount of business. And so if you're just pounding the phones every day and not having success, you have to figure out what's the disconnect between the call and the conversation, then the conversation and the close.
See, for that we have a process. When I was a team member, I was really good at sales. And so I wrote out a really great sales conversation that I called the perfect quote. And so this was a testament, like I just hired a gentleman, and he has a sales background, but never been licensed before. And he got him through his modules, everything. I sat him down and I said, all right, you're going to call 50 people, right? Here off this list. And then here is the exact conversation. I want you to read it. I don't care if you sound like a robot. I want you to read this, and I want you to practice this over and over and over again until you don't sound like a robot anymore. But just know, like the first 10 times. So I went through it with him. One time I did it, then one time he did it. And then I said, why don't you go over and call your buddy and see if you can practice on him. He said, sounds good. I said, do you feel good about it? He's like, yeah, I feel good. And so he started dialing, and man, in that 150 calls block that he made, he scheduled 4 appointments. So it goes, you know, there's a way of doing things, but it's like on that training piece, like you have to have a process, right? Like there has to be a process. It has to be a process that works. There has to be training to teach people how to have those conversations. And then the beautiful thing is that then you can just plug people into it.
Yep.
And like, that's what I preach to people all the time is like, if you have a process, you can plug in anyone. Like I always joke, like I could teach a monkey to do it, but really, like you have to read it off. You're gonna get what you need from that.
You're preaching to the choir. I love what you're saying right now,
Yeah.
because you're setting people up for success, because that's exactly what we do. Like, we give people the videos, the scripts, literally everything. But what you're saying that I don't want to go overlooked here is the importance of, one, having a process, but the importance of having consistency.
Yeah.
Because what you just done is you've made sure that everyone in your office knows how to be successful. They're consistently having the same conversation with every single customer every single time, which is going to provide clarity. It's going to provide accountability. It's going to provide confidence.
Yeah.
And it's going to provide you, the agency owner, consistent results, to where when if everyone's having the same conversation, it doesn't matter if it's the new business sales conversation, the appointment conversation, the pivots, whatever, if you start to see one person slightly drop, like let's say your office averages 30% closing ratio, but somebody's hanging around that 20, 21, 22, that there's a disconnect somewhere. Let's
Yes.
role play, let's practice, see where the disconnect is so we can coach you. Like, you're 100% spot
Your
on.
point right there, that's exactly what I do. The minute I notice that there's someone who's off of our typical close rate, I know exactly what's happening. I go to them and I say,
Mhm.
Yep.
so are you using the perfect quote? Are you using the closing checklist? The minute I notice that like the new team members are like a team member's not getting referrals like they were, right? I'm looking at their commission sheet at the end of the month and I'm like, a lot of leads and those things, but where's all your referrals? Are you using the closing checklist? And they're like, oh, like works so well, you stop doing it. So yeah, you're right. Okay, back to the closing checklist, and then boom,
Yeah.
referrals are right back where they need to be. And same thing with the perfect
Yep.
quote. When I notice we're not doing the $1 million umbrellas, and the perfect quote requires you to talk about an umbrella. And when I hear like every day when they recap, they go, well, I quoted someone and we just weren't a better price, and da-da. It's like, but with the perfect quote, you're not talking about price, you're talking about value. And so what did
Yes.
what does
Amen.
price have to do with anything, right?
Yeah.
And so
Amen.
I realize I have to have a coaching conversation then about, this isn't about price, this is about value. You're selling yourself, right? And if you had that conversation with them that no other agent has ever had with them before, then they'll choose you because you're better, right?
Man, I feel like we speak the same language here. Shit. Like, your job is not to save people money. Your job is to make sure that on their worst day, they have a plan in place.
Yes.
Because who cares about price? No one has a claim, and they're caring about how much they pay for their insurance. They're caring that their
Exactly.
house is rebuilt. They're caring that they have a rental car. They're caring that they have a life insurance plan so they're not going to struggle financially. Like, this is the shit I'm talking about, Ashley. You
Yes.
just got me fired up, man.
Well, I know. And Michael, like, I'm going to plug you for a minute. So two things. I read your book and I thought, oh my gosh, I could have written this book because we sound like we had the same, we had the same realizations at the same time. And we
Yep.
did the same thing those first few years, grinding and being our best team member. And so I really, really, really related to your book and I recommend it to everyone. I have an aspirant in my office now and I was like, you got to read this book. Like, don't screw it up like we did those first few years, right? You do it better. And then the second thing is that I interviewed coaches before I hired a coach. So when I opened my second office, I reached out to so many people and said, like, what would you tell me about having a second office? And they said the hardest thing is that you can't duplicate yourself, right? And so if you're not going to be able to invest the time you did into your original office, you're going to need help, right? And so I said, okay, like, what does that mean for me? And they said, hire a coach, right? Hire a coach to help both of your teams continue to get better. And so I started interviewing coaches, and when I talked to you, I was like, we're on the same page, and I want my coach
Yep.
to be an extension of me, to say the things that I say. And it never fails when my team members are listening to your coaching sessions or your podcasts or your calls. I'm like, how did it go? Like, what'd you guys learn about today? And they're like, it was a good reminder. It was it was just like something you're always saying. And they're always like, yeah, that Michael, he definitely is a lot like you in this front. And I'm like, yes, I know. If anything, it like legitimized me. Like, see, this guy
Yeah.
knows what he's talking about.
And sometimes they need to hear it from somebody else.
Third party reiteration.
Yeah.
Like you can say the exact same thing, but the fact that it comes from somebody else, that may be the voice that they go, yep, I got it.
But-
And then they run with it.
Well, and it's just hearing it, and then like hearing it from somebody else then kind of confirms it. Like, this isn't just
Yeah.
one of my problems as a leader, and I know this, is that I'm an idealist, right? I always have ideas. And so there's occasion I've had to recognize when is it just an idea, or when is it something I actually need you to do? Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have to be really, really good about saying, this isn't just an idea. I'm actually expecting this from you going forward. You know, like when I hired a coach, at first I was like, hey, look, we got a coach. We got Michael Weaver. We're going to do this Weaver Sales Academy. It's going to be great. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I go back a month later and I said, no, really, I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
We're
Yep.
doing it. And I want it on your schedule on Tuesdays. And I want you to show up and I want you to be present. And they were like, oh, okay, this wasn't just an idea. This was like something real we're getting involved in. So that's just me.
You got me fired up on this one, Ashley. All right, so if somebody wanted to follow you, connect with you, support you, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
I mean, typically I'm on Facebook or LinkedIn. Those are good ones. Instagram, those type of things. They can follow me. Just look up Ashley Himes. You can email me, ashley@sydneysf.com. So yeah, any way pretty much. I answer all things.
Perfect. No, Ashley, this has been fantastic. We appreciate your time so much. And for all of those of you that are listening, we appreciate you. I would love to know, because Ashley dropped so many gold nuggets in this one. I would love to know what you took away from this. If you could, shoot me a text, 816-727-7610. Let me know what you got out of this, because I'm going to share it with Ashley too when you text me. So shoot us a text. As always, time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. We appreciate you spending time with us today. Ashley, thank you again.
Thank you, Michael and Courtney. I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to speak about what I'm passionate about. And happy birthday, Michael. I thought we were going to end the
Hey,
segment
thank
with
you.
the song here.
Hey.
Happy birthday.
to
I'll take that.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
The big 3-6, baby, rolling it in. I
I
love
love
it. Ashley, thank you.